I need a haircut.
Oh my gosh.
How long are you gonna let me go walking around looking like an actual hobo?
I've been very busy, so whatever.
Fine. Hey everybody, welcome to We Watch TV, the
What an
podcast
opening.
about TV that we watch.
So it's, hey everybody, welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV we watch.
Yeah, neither of us said it right last week. You said it wrong, and then I scolded you
It said the exact same thing,
and
right?
said the exact same thing you did. So neither of us said it correctly.
May's been crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just
So
gonna blame it on May.
yeah,
May brain. May's crazy.
you had a food epiphany this past
Oh my
weekend.
gosh, I did.
For those listeners who are not from the great state of West Virginia, you may not be aware of the food establishment Tudor's Biscuit World.
Gourmet, wonderful,
It's
excellent.
just like going home.
award-winning.
I think that's what the commercial used to say.
I don't even
anyways.
remember they had a commercial. I thought it was just a legend.
We got our run in Saturday,
Yes.
and you made the executive decision to run through Tudor's on the way
Genius
home.
idea. They only had about one car in front of us,
which
which
means it
meant
was a 20-minute
about
wait.
a 20-minute wait
Yeah.
because you're always gonna have to wait there.
And so we ordered the normal stuff that we order. I went off menu and got my, bacon egg sandwich on toast, and you got your sausage
Plain
biscuit.
sausage
And
biscuit.
at the very last minute, I don't know what prompted it. You were like, "Hey, I want to try a big tater."
you always told me about it.
I've
but
been
you
trying to
never-
get you to try a big tater
You didn't explain it
for
properly.
years.
You didn't explain it properly.
Let me now explain the big tater before you talk about it. Home fries, I think, is the appropriate term to use for the potatoes that are on it.
Roasted potatoes,
And then eggs,
scrambled,
scrambled bacon,
crispy bacon, the good
very
way.
crispy bacon. The only thing I don't... Okay, so there's two options for a sauce on the big tater.
Yes.
You can get it with gravy or you can get it with cheese.
An
And the
authentic
cheese-
cheese sauce.
It's that plasticky cheese sauce.
I
That's the only
love.
knock that I would put on the big tater.
What?
Because
That's
I'm not the cheese sauce guy.
I love that plastic fake cheese almost more than anything on this earth. And it brings it up to a whole other level of elite. You say that you've been trying to tell me about the big tater for years. You never
The
explained
big tater, yeah.
You never explained what it was. I thought it was just like some baked potato, like what you get at Wendy's.
It's a breakfast baked potato. No.
You never explained it properly. And the reason why I decided I wanted to try that was I was pretty sweaty, sticky. I had like gnats all over me from the run, just that stuck to my sweat. So I was feeling pretty crunchy and grimy. And I knew I was going to want to get in the shower immediately, but I have my whole shower process, I think my skincare and everything after. And I needed a couple bites of something good. So I was like, fine, let's get this big tater. I am like honestly irritated with you that you never just bought me one to begin with because it was everything. It comes with a biscuit too. You didn't even tell me that. So biscuit.
I forgot it came with a biscuit. It's been a long time
Potatoes.
since I had one.
Good. I'm really usually picky about like scrambled eggs, especially from like fast food places. Great scrambled eggs, bacon, and then that wonderful gourmet, basically just cheese sauce that I absolutely could just drink. I love it so much because I am trash, but I love it.
I like that you took the time to get that first bite to have all the layers.
All you want to get with all
Get
the layers.
all the layers on that first bite, and
And
it
it
was just
was
like
wonderful.
you changed yourself.
Well, I opened the
in
box
that
and I'm
moment.
like, one, you did not tell me it was a biscuit. A biscuit came with it. The biscuit's not on it. It's off to the side. But you never explained it properly. You should have just, you know how much I love potatoes anyway. You should have just taken the time to buy me one. You're
Apparently.
holding out on me. And
Okay.
I may be from West Virginia, but the part of West Virginia that I'm from, oddly enough, we didn't have tutors. I didn't have tutors for the first time until I moved to Charleston, West Virginia, our state's capital, for college. So any of the Parkersburg people listening to this, they still might not know the greatness that is tutors.
I can't believe Tudor.
Is there a Parkersburg or tutors in Parkersburg now?
I mean, I'm not aware of one, but I can't believe Tudor's isn't in
Parkersburg people, let
Parkersburg.
me know. But Tudors, Biscuit World, I don't remember any commercials. I feel like they don't need commercials.
Well, you guys didn't have one, so they weren't running them up there.
Yeah, but I don't remember seeing them in Charleston either. I feel like the food speaks for itself.
But you remember it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where
That
your
wasn't
parents are?
We had a different news station. That was the Charleston one.
Oh yeah, you're right.
We're going wildly off topic here. But yes, I've now discovered the big tater, and that's all I want in life. Is just I want another one. I want more. Only problem is our Tudors closes at 2
PM.
o'clock. They
2
close up
p.m.
shop. We pulled in about 1:30. I never want to be the person that comes like 10 minutes before close, but I'm always like, you know what, a half hour, that's fine to do that.
We pulled in at what?
It was like 1:28.
1:28. We got out of there at 1:45.
1:45. One car in front of us. That's how.
That's just Tudors,
it's worth
though.
it.
It's worth it. It's totally
It's
worth
worth
it.
the wait. It's excellent.
If there was another car in line, I probably wouldn't have gone in.
Yeah, 2 cars. You probably want to hold off on that. I don't know, but they always repeat back my order to me, which I like. Like, okay, so you want a sausage biscuit? Yes, I like it when they do that, as opposed to the other place we went to the other night where I didn't know if the order was going to be right at all.
Oh yeah,
But Shake Shop's also quality.
they got it though.
Yeah, they
and
got
you know
it right.
what? Now that I think about it, I've never had my order through that drive-through wrong.
Another wonderful local staple. This one in Ohio, a little town in southeast Ohio. We won't say the name of the town, just because,
I'll say his name. His name was Mike.
there might be some weirdos out there, but Shake Shop is an institution as well. Very good. We clearly ate Cane's this weekend.
Rat Kings, maybe.
Yeah, and it's funny because Thursday I had some stomach issues and was feeling awful. And then we went to go see Guardians of the Galaxy, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes on Friday night. So I'm like, yes, I'll take that popcorn. I no longer put 5 pumps of butter on it, though, like we used to.
That's correct.
Because we realized the butter was making us sick. So
You've aged out of the butter.
We've aged out of the butter. But I like to do me a little sweet and salty combo. Bunch of crunch, popcorn, mix it up. You're a Sour Patch Kid kind of guy, though, right?
No.
A Sour Jacks.
I'm a Sour Jacks
Are we going to go? Does anybody remember Sour Jacks? They used to sell them at
they
Marquee
don't make
Cinemas.
them anymore. And I looked online recently, and I think the company still exists, but they've changed up their branding a little bit, and it just doesn't look the same.
You used to be able to get them at Marquee Cinemas in Charleston.
A wheel of them, yeah.
No, not a wheel of them. I'm getting to the next part. Calm down.
Well, that was just the box.
You could just get the box at Marquee Cinemas when we were to Charleston. I think Marquee is a lower scale brand than AMC, Cinemark, Regal, all that stuff. But you could get the wheel of them at a little place we like to call Blockbuster.
Oh, yeah, that's where we got the wheel, was at Blockbuster. Okay.
And they were good. They were better than Sour Patch
They're
Kids.
better
But
than
you
Sour
have
Patch
to get
Kids.
Sour Patch Kids now.
Yeah. I didn't eat mine at the movie this past time.
You didn't.
No.
Meanwhile, you had a big plate of chips and salsa before we
did,
went to the
yeah.
movies. Because you didn't know how long it was going to take me to get ready or anything.
Yeah. Well, there was concern that we weren't going to get out in time to even get our dinner because they close at 10. So.
But yeah, Shake Shop was great. And one of the reasons why why you wanted to make sure and have your chips and salsa ahead of time, we knew we were getting popcorn at the movie. But we also wanted to make a specific showing so we could get Shake Shop before they close at 10, which we ended up hitting that up about 9:35. So again, if I roll into a place 10 minutes before, I'm not going to do that to the staff. But half hour, 25 minutes.
Local restaurant. We got there at about 9:35 and got out of there about 9:50.
Yeah. Still, again, worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
Something else that was worth it, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yep.
So good.
I got to see a movie in the theater, everybody.
I actually went with you this time.
She didn't leave me behind.
I didn't movie cheat on you. I accompanied you to our local cinema, which, by the way, super worried that we were going to not have any place to sit, that we're going to have crappy seats.
Yeah, I know.
Perks of living in a
really
small
stressed
town.
out about it.
If anybody follows me on Instagram, I snapped a little picture. When we first walked in, there was only one other couple, and then there were some kids that came and sat right behind us, and then some other people. I'm not saying that the kids were annoying that were right behind us.
They were annoying. I'll say it. They were annoying.
They were laughing during the emotional parts.
Yeah,
I'm
they weren't annoying because they weren't enjoying the movie. They were annoying because they were they were acting like they were too cool for school.
Too cool for school.
Did I just say too cool for stool or something? I don't even know what I said. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking.
I'm old. It's our elder millennial speaking here. But yeah, it wasn't crowded at all. We had plenty of time to get our popcorn. I'm a little mad they took away one of our local commercials that was always a classic. There's this college. It's one of the local community colleges around here. And they used to have this, if anybody that lives in the area and listens to this podcast, you're going to know what I mean. They had this, little, jingle, song. They've had to have been doing that song since, 2011, maybe 2012. It was totally there last summer because the last movie you saw in theaters
In July,
was in
yeah.
July. You saw Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes.
Okay, movie, much better book. You still haven't finished the book. You need to do that. You need to finish the book.
I've seen the movie at this point, and you told me that it was reasonably accurate.
The movie kind of
was
takes
reasonably
away
accurate,
from the surprise
and I think
ending.
it takes away from
That's
the
the
ending
last
a
time
little
you've
bit.
been to the movies.
Yeah, July last year.
And that's the last time I had been to that theater for the movie.
She doesn't take me out much.
Oh my gosh. Because I had cheated on you at another, theater establishment. So we're sitting there. Suddenly that commercial's gone and I'm just in shock and dismay. But that aside.
Maybe if you cut my hair, you'd be more willing to be seen with me out in public.
I'm rolling my eyes right now.
Look, I'm getting right now, everybody. This may be the final episode
of
We Watch TV.
Stop doing these Monday night, the night before they air, because they're too chaotic. But let's get back. Let's focus.
Let's get better.
Let's focus. That's a Frasier reference. Great show. But one of the best comedies of all time. Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I loved it.
I agree.
It was incredible, fantastic, an emotional roller coaster. I cried at least 4 times. I had it was very bittersweet, the ending of it. It was just so good. Easily, hands down, my favorite in the post-Endgame era of Marvel movies, which we had to actually stop the podcast a second ago and look at each other and try to remember. There have been more than what we had thought. There's been 2 Spider-Man movies. The Eternals, it was all right. It wasn't as bad as everybody said it was. Shang-Chi, Black Panther 2, and then Ant-Man, which you have not seen Ant-Man yet. And so I don't know if I'm missing any. We're not even counting the shows in this. But of the movies, definitely my favorite, the post-Endgame era. I will have to go back and really think about ranking my list, but it would probably be, for me, I would probably rank it in that high little list that I already have of even the pre-Endgame era movies. I still think probably when Captain America Winter Soldier is still just elite top tier for me, but this was great. And as a whole, the trilogy of Guardians of the Galaxy, probably one of the best.
I
think it is
not
the best,
probably.
honestly.
The Guardians trilogy is the best trilogy that you can put together of the MCU
because
movies.
What happened with, everybody knows that Iron Man 3 kind of fell off. Even though it was still a great movie, it wasn't the best. And Captain America, he's literally my favorite Avenger, but let's face it, even Captain America Winter Soldier, which I consider top tier of the Marvel movies, but his Captain America Civil War, that was basically another Avengers movie. He really only got one standalone movie.
Yeah.
So this is clearly, I really like the Thor movies as well, but just a cohesive element. Give me these kind of, I don't even know, ragtag space misfits.
I just think that in hindsight too, this trilogy of the Guardians movies will stand on its own better than maybe anything that has been produced in the MCU.
Now, you have to have seen Endgame
you
to
do.
understand what happened with Gamora, because Gamora is in the movie, but it is not our Gamora from the first 2 Guardians movies.
I think they did a good job of filling in the gaps if you hadn't. But who hasn't seen Endgame
and for
is
you,
going
you're
to watch
gonna
this movie.
think
that
they did a good job because you're already familiar with it. I remember when we watched Endgame, the person behind me had not seen any of the Guardians movies. They thought, because Peter does, because he's kind of going through some stuff, which they pointed out in this movie.
They did bring it up, yes.
How he threw a fit about everything.
And punched Thanos and almost destroyed the universe.
She was like, this guy's horrible. And I remember I don't think she had seen Ant-Man, and Ant-Man played a really big role in Endgame. So I do think you need to watch a lot of the Marvel movies together. I think this is a series, like you said, that can get by with a little bit, but just that big... I think they'd still, even with the explanations they gave, I think you'd still be okay, but, why is she not, regular Gamora? They did a good job explaining why this version of Gamora was able to come back, but we don't have Black Widow back. I thought they did a good job explaining that, because I always complain about that, just because I love Black Widow.
And we don't want to go too many spoilers here for the movie.
Well, they already knew that Gamora was back. That's not a spoiler.
But I do think that the relationship between Quill and Gamora, even though it's not the same Gamora, came to a very satisfactory ending.
Yes. Again, bittersweet.
Yeah, it was bittersweet.
If I had to describe this movie and the way the characters' evolutions are, bittersweet. Let's talk about the villain. What was this villain's guy's name?
High Evolutionary.
He was so awful and horrible.
He is the most memorable villain.
I have not violently disliked a villain in the Marvel Universe, or in general for this matter, since like Umbridge from the Harry Potter series. Like every time he was on screen, I wanted to throw up and just like start punching things. You don't mess with one. You get you a villain that messes with animals.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's over. But he was horrible. Like I understand they're building up. What's the one guy's name? I mean, I'm
Kang.
Kang. Okay.
Yeah, you're the one that's seen the
I
movie.
know.
Yeah, here
It's not
I
Ant-Man where
am
he's the
telling
main
you what's
villain.
going on in the greater
But that just
MCU.
shows you in terms of like the two of them. Like this guy was such a worse villain. So that had it going. Like sometimes you get a movie where the villain's almost amusing to you. You like them from that aspect. Or you get a villain that you actually truly hate. Thanos, like they would always tease him, but he was just kind of there for me, honestly. Like this guy, like I was like livid every time he came on the screen in this movie. That is how much I absolutely loathed.
And some of that was the writing, but I do think the actor just really went hard on it.
And the actor seems like such a nice guy.
He does.
Too.
He seems like a really nice guy.
They were like, how hard was it to like be mean to like the animals, like Rocket Raccoon in the movie? And he's like, well, he's like, I did all my scenes with Sean Gunn, who all my Gilmore Girls fellow fans out there. That is our Kirk, he is the brother of James Gunn. I remember I hadn't seen Kirk in anything since Gilmore Girls, and then suddenly he showed up in the first Guardians movie. And this was before you had watched Gilmore Girls yet, which you agree is Gilmore Girls a great show.
Gilmore Girls is a very good show.
Much better than Fine.
Much better than Fine, yes.
Very good for Daniel's high top tier standard. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Kirk from Gilmore Girls. And then we discovered that was James Gunn's brother, but he's the one that kind of does a lot of the fill-in, like stand-in work for Rocket Raccoon. It's not like actually Bradley Cooper in the little suit. So he's like, well, I kind of worked with him and it made it easier, which I just feel like, I know Kirk's kind of like dumb in Gilmore Girls, but I feel like Sean Gunn he's not dumb, but he has that goofiness that Kirk probably has in real life and that comedy. Like every interview I see him in, the guy just seems hilarious and just like happy to be there.
It just seems like he's enjoying his job, and that's always helpful when the people making the movies enjoy making the movies and are passionate about what they're doing. Not just not just making the movie, but passionate about the characters they're
about,
portraying
like, the work that they
and
do.
the stories they're telling. And I think that's ultimately, to me, what shines through with Guardians is James Gunn cared about these characters and cared about the story he was telling.
Wants to go to DC, why?
And really wrapped up a really good trilogy.
It honestly makes me want to see the Suicide Squad now that he did for DC.
I've always wanted to see that.
I'm a little annoyed. You told me the first one looked awful.
Yeah, the first one was terrible. I didn't see it, but I know through osmosis.
The shark guy from
King
The
Shark
Flash was going to be in this. Isn't it John Cena?
No,
he plays
Sylvester Stallone plays
What?
King Shark in the.
You didn't
the
tell me
Suicide
that
Squad.
Rocky Balboa.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
John
Speaking
Cena
of,
plays like a
Rocky Balboa was in this movie again.
Yeah, for like a. I mean,
Like
if you
2
didn't know who he
seconds.
was, you wouldn't know he was anybody.
Nathan
important.
Fillion showed up.
Yeah, he had more time than Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, but we don't, like we said, even though we're a spoiler podcast, we don't want to give too much away of this movie because I know sometimes it can be hard for people to get out to the movies in time, or their wives just abandon them and go see movies with their friends instead. But it was a very satisfying yet bittersweet conclusion. It was. You don't really cry in movies that much.
Just when Kirk dies.
Or like Marley, you cried in Marley and Me. Who doesn't cry in Marley?
Well, yeah, you got to be dead inside to
That
not
movie
cry in
was
Marley and
awful
Me.
in terms of sadness. But I feel like Bradley Cooper just does such a good job with Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
Like, just bringing that emotion. Like I always love this. One, let's talk about the soundtracks. Every Guardians movie has knocked it out of the park soundtrack wise. In the beginning, they start with the "I'm a creep," a staple on my playlist already. Now all I'm going to think about is cute little precious raccoons every time I hear that song.
Was that the studio album version, or was it? I feel like it might have been acoustic. I can't remember.
It was a slowed down version of what they do, so I don't know.
You said this earlier tonight.
We can probably find out on Spotify right now.
You said this earlier tonight, and I echo this. This is the first movie I've seen in theaters in a long time that I would go back to the theater and see again.
I said tonight, I was like, I want to go see it again. Not just at my house. Like, I want to go see it in the theater again.
If that tells you anything.
Yes, it was the radio. It was still Radiohead's version, but it was the acoustic version, according to the little list here of the songs.
If that tells you anything about where I'm at on the movie, it's right there. I don't see very many movies.
You don't
I can
leave
probably
the house.
count.
He's
I
always
don't
talking about
leave
how
the
I leave
house.
him. You don't leave the
I'm
house.
a basement dwelling
Like a hermit.
goblin. So if I would be willing, like if this weekend Hope was like, hey, let's go watch Guardians 3 again, I would go.
Let's
and
go.
that tells
With
you
no question about it.
that
I'm
is
ready to
my
get hurt
Guardians
again.
of the Galaxy Volume 3 review.
How would you place, like, I would really have to sit down and do a full ranking, but it is definitely above some of the older movies in the pre-in-game era for me as well.
Absolutely.
Hands down, best post-game, but very up there. I feel like all of the Guardians movies have been so good.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time we saw Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1. You were like, now this is based off kind of like an unhinged, like, deep dive comic book. You're like, I don't know how good it's going to be. And we walked out of that theater being like, oh my goodness, this was amazing.
And
Second
it wasn't
Guardians great.
It wasn't
this one,
just
great.
that you didn't. It wasn't just good because you didn't have any expectations. It was just that good.
It was just that good. I love those little space team of misfits. Also, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but those of you that have seen it will understand the final impactful "I am Groot."
Oh yeah,
moment.
absolutely.
Just brought down the house.
Yep.
So fantastic movie. Definitely go see it. Post-credit scenes were good. Make sure you watch even if I know it's not the holidays, but if you're like me and you love Christmas year-round, make sure you watch the holiday special on Disney Plus because they actually
filmed
reference
that. They filmed that during the filming of this movie, and so it kind of ties in.
And you would. Oh, that's another thing. You would have to have watched the holiday special to know that
Mantis
is
Quill's
sister.
Yeah.
So that's there was actual context to that, but they kind of referenced that in some post-credit scene there. What about the little girl? There's this part at the end where Rocket Raccoon's like, okay, which songs do you like the best?
This was like the not the last. It wasn't
one of the
it was
final
like the
scenes.
mid-credit scene.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, which song do you like the best? And there's this little girl. She was like a little Hope.
Yeah.
She's like, I like Britney Spears and Korn. At first,
I
was like,
turned and looked at you.
Because I always tell Daniel, like, how much, obviously, I like Britney Spears, come on. But I always really liked Korn growing up, like, random for me, which I'll listen to so many different things. But just the fact that she combined those two, we just kind of looked at each other like. Yeah. And we also got, again, if you guys remember the first Guardians, the Hooked on a Feeling.
Yep.
Got
Rocket
another
played
little
that
throwback to
one
that. It was just a very satisfying
It was very
conclusion.
satisfying, yes.
If I had to describe it, it would be bittersweet. Bring your tissues.
Yep,
Great
for sure.
movie. I feel like we're actually
if you're
getting
one to cry in the theater, bring the tissues.
Yes, I definitely am. I already kind of was prepared for it, so I had tissues with me. I feel like so we are getting Ant-Man. I think May 17th. It's that next week.
Oh, on Disney Plus. Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
And I love Scott Lang, and I think the Ant-Man movies are funny. But, like, for me, that was a nice, like, little step to build up. And I've already been like, yeah, you're going to be disappointed after watching Guardians and then watching Ant-Man. But you like Scott and Paul Rudd, so I think you'll be
I'll just watch it to complete it.
But it's going to be, like, you're going to be one of those things where, like, I got to have the gradual build up to the greatness of the Marvel movies, and you just had, like, top tier.
I mean, you know how I am with spoilers. I've probably seen half the movie on TikTok
I'm pretty
already,
sure,
so.
even though you kept saying how I movie cheated on you, that you had already seen the post-movie credits before I went, because you were like,
Yes,
so what do you think of that
correct,
post-credit
yes.
scene? I'm like, how did you see that? You really don't have any chill.
It's not my fault.
But anyway, let's move on to some of our shows.
Before we get to shows,
Oh.
I did want to make an announcement to everybody, and we'll be pushing this out a little bit more, but we have opened the official We Watch TV podcast Instagram account. You can find it at We Watch TV Podcast. We'd appreciate it if you like the show and you happen to have an Instagram account. If you
follow us on Instagram, we both share.
Yeah,
it in
we've
our
both been
stories,
sharing.
too.
If you'd get your butt over there and hit that follow button, we're gonna continue to post on our personal accounts, but we're also gonna post on the new account, and we're gonna put a little bit extra stuff.
That'll be a good place where you can interact with us. Tell us how chaotic we are. Mention maybe is there some like random show that is like so obscure, and you're like, you know what, I want to hear these idiots react to that.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I've got this camera pointed right at me. I'm looking right to it, right into your souls at the moment. This camera is pointed at me, and I'm recording this, just me. So maybe some of that stuff will
Your
get on there too.
eyes are really pretty. You picked out a good set. You'll know that when you see Guardians. Anyway, now can we talk about more shows?
Yes, go ahead.
It's the We Watch TV podcast. So let's just jump right into the marvelous Mrs. Maisel finding her groove back.
Best episode in a season and a half.
Yes, such a good episode. We weren't sure about it at the beginning because we were like, oh gosh, this episode's going to be a lot of flash forwards.
The whole episode
was.
Yeah, it was basically the whole
but
episode.
things are starting to come together.
I think so.
And
I am
it
now.
it had that vibe of
Yeah.
season 1, the heartwarming, a little, sometimes a touch of sadness, funny, hilarious. It really brought me back to those early season vibes, and it was so good. Like, I was so annoyed that we couldn't just press more and watch the next episode right away.
I'm on board with the flash forwards now. I wasn't
Same.
initially, but now I am.
I have hope now that they're going to do it right. So obviously the flash forwards.
Yeah,
Midge
they've got a plan for it.
is showing that she's not the best person. She and Susie have had a falling out. We know why that happened now, and it's coming together. You're getting back to some of that. Well, I was worried that the flash forwards, while they were talking about certain relationships among the characters, that some of that was being kind of sacrificed a little bit for the big mystery. Couldn't have been more wrong with this latest episode. It's all about the relationships.
Yeah, it is totally about the relationship.
So I mean, there's not much else I can say with Maisel, but I'm super excited. I feel like it's getting back to how it was, and I'm really excited to see how it's going to end. The Palladinos kind of let me down with how they ended Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life, which, again, Gilmore Girls, great show. Palladinos, they're the same ones that do Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. That's a tongue twister when you're really tired of
The Marvelous Mrs.
Marvelous
Maisel.
Mrs.
The
Maisel. If you're a
Marvelous
fast talker like
Mrs.
me, which I've been told I
Maisel.
talk fast.
If you slur your words like me, you got to really slow
The
down.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. But I'm hopeful that we're going to have a satisfying conclusion.
I think we will. I'm more optimistic about it. I'm starting to wonder. I'm 50-50 about the Lenny Bruce. Whether they're going to make
Even
that
mention him
be
again?
the big emotional thing for Midge,
They
or
might
whether
not
they're
mention
even
it at
going to
all.
mention it at all. Yeah,
They might.
I'm not sure. I'm 50. I was certain.
I think the Susie thing is part of and what
Yeah.
happens with Joel.
I was
very
certain at
emotional.
the beginning of the season that was going to be
Yep.
like the big emotional punch for Midge somewhere
We'll
towards
see.
the end of the
It's
season.
fun though to not know.
Yeah, but now I'm not entirely convinced they're even going to bring it up again.
Her parents still crack me up.
I don't know. I think it would be a disservice to what they've done with his character to not bring it up. Their
Yeah.
relationship was so important early on,
so impactful
and
to her
regardless of whether
career.
what my thoughts are on season 4, they really cemented that relationship in season 4.
Yes.
To not bring it up at
They
all.
have such a strong bond, and he did so much to help her in her career, and he believed in her.
Yeah,
very
particularly
early
in
on.
a season where they're doing a bunch of flash forwards. So it's
Yeah.
not like they could get away with saying, "Well, the show ended before he passed away." No, you're doing a bunch. Your season is literally flash forward. So I'm not sure they're going to do it, but I will be a little disappointed if they don't.
I'm definitely excited for more. I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah.
What's next?
Ted Lasso.
Another show I can't wait to see more of.
Yeah.
This episode kind of was a little upsetting for me, though. A little upsetting.
You were upset multiple times in this
I was
episode.
upset multiple times. So, Keely had a photo or like a video.
The men in your life are really letting you down.
Really, truly, except for Mr. Jamie. But Keely had this video that she had made for somebody to be private. Got leaked, as we all know that's happened with celebrities and everything before, and it just, the way all that went down just very much upset me. It's not just the men in my life. Jack, Keely's girlfriend, made me very mad because she was like, "Oh, it'll be okay, I'll take care of it," and then she basically hands her this like PR written letter, and it was
very sterile,
very lawyery. And and then finally she comes out with it like, "Well, you shouldn't have done that anyway. Why would you even do that?" Like,
yeah. The classic line.
So she's love bombing her last week. This week, I'm just not a fan of that relationship right now. I feel like Keely is just like there to be an accessory, and I just did not like the way she was treated at all. That really upset me. And then I love Roy Kent, but Roy Kent,
he messed up.
He screwed up, and he knew he screwed up the moment he did it. But he made me so upset. So he comes over to Keely to talk to her, and we think he's being nice. And I think he was trying to be nice at first.
You've told me in our arguments that that's the key, is that knowing I screwed up and apologizing immediately.
Well, you don't apologize
but
immediately.
you're still mad at Roy because he apologized immediately. I'm just trying to make sure I level set here.
Do you want me to be mad at you right now?
Not particularly.
Anyway, he basically was like, "Well, who was it for?" I'm like, "Why would you ask that?" Because it showed he was clearly still jealous. Because he
I'm
knows
pretty sure,
who it's for.
I'm pretty sure I made an audible ooh when he said that. Like,
I basically put my head in my hands and was like, "Really, Roy?" Like, cue the Tyra Banks Like, we were rooting for you.
Yeah.
We were all rooting for you. Like, that's how upset I was. But yes, he did realize he screwed up. But she still could be mad.
Is that the nail in the coffin of that relationship?
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No,
Okay.
I really don't.
You think he can come back?
Yeah, I mean,
because I know how
that.
that episode ended with Jamie going over
I do
to
not
talk
think
to her.
she and Jamie
but
are
I
gonna
don't
be
think
together.
that's where they're going with that. I think they're resolving any lasting issues. Like Jamie is trying to get off his chest.
Yeah, because ultimately, spoiler alert,
guilt over
click
over
off
that.
this podcast right now. It turned out Jamie had forgotten to delete that from his phone.
Yeah,
and I really believed his sincerity. And
absolutely.
He was like,
yeah.
Because I don't think he was messing around with her. He was like, okay, I had it there in case we might get back together someday. And then I realized you and Roy were serious, and I just kind of forgot about it. Because before, Jamie had been like, delete, delete, delete. And I think that's why Roy actually asked Keely about it, because I think Roy probably deep down knows that it was for Jamie too.
Well, he knew whether he'd received any videos or not.
And it was just, so give me the ick. I wish he hadn't done that. But Jamie, arcane of character evolution, character growth, finally did the one thing that Keely had been wanting and Rebecca did it too for Keely, but the one thing that she had been wanting all episode, just support.
Yeah.
I'm sorry this happened to you. This stinks. And it was a very tender, loving moment between them. I do not think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that Roy's not only coaching Jamie to be a better person and ball player, maybe a better boyfriend, but I don't think, at least from what I saw, that they're going to get back together from that. I think it was an understanding moment between two people. If anything, I could see Jamie being the catalyst to getting Roy and Keely back together. So I do think there's a chance for them. I do not think Jack is going to happen.
No, I don't think so.
I haven't been vibing with that from day one. And that's just because I always thought it was weird that she's like the one that funds Keely's company. I'm like, dynamics, power dynamics. And you've seen that Keely has basically become like almost like a shell of herself. And there was a wardrobe choice for the reason why she had that like pretty woman like outfit on. And I like was pointing it out to you and you're like, what are you talking about? Then I get on Twitter and everybody's like, look at her pretty woman outfit. I'm like, I told you. And Jack really let me down.
I'm not much for outfits in television shows. Now, if you want to have a discussion with me about uniforms in Star Trek, I'll have that discussion. But outside
oh my
of
gosh, give Star Trek a rest. It's not coming back till June with Strange New Worlds. We don't have to get a Star Trek reference in every episode.
Yes, we do.
I like Ahura's dress, though. Even if that makes me like,
see, there you go,
not feminist, because that was cute with the little boots.
One final point on that kind of storyline of this episode, kind of the meta side. I was kind of surprised Apple, of all companies, let them do that story.
About, like, the leak, yeah.
Because Apple's kind of, the iCloud leaks have kind of been the famous, like leaks in the real world over the past like 5 to 10 years. And I was kind of surprised Apple let them do that.
It's like the same thing where we watched that Amazon show called Upload, and they basically like rip on Amazon like the entire time.
Yeah, they rip on Amazon the whole show.
The entire,
and
almost
like,
the whole premise of the
show. It's like brazen. These giant companies are like, yeah, sure,
you know what
whatever.
I like it though?
We know we're the villain.
I've always liked a little bit of self-awareness.
Sure.
I enjoy it. What else in that episode? So Ted's son's there to visit. They actually go to Nate's team's game because his son
that was funny.
His son doesn't know anything about the Nate drama, just knows that he's coached and was excited to see him. And you could tell that Nate liked it too, but had to, of course, because of stupid Emperor Rupert. Hey Jude.
Yep.
Great moment with Hey Jude.
Yep.
It was an all-around good episode, but definitely I feel like I was just so upset with Roy Kent. I'm still a little mad at him.
That's okay.
I'll protect Keely at
I'm
all
sure you'll
costs.
heal this week.
Hopefully.
That's the vibe of this show, is healing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think that you will definitely, he'll be redeemed. I don't know that. I don't know that he and Keely are in game. I don't care that he and Keely are in game at this point, because it's not really what the show's about.
He done it. He
absolutely.
He was sorry the moment he done it. Got the Appalachian twang coming through. But it just made me mad because I was like, oh, Roy's gonna come over and make her feel better about it because Jack handled it so poorly. And then I'm like, oh, really, Roy? You'd be just like a typical guy about it. But anyway, Ted Lasso, still good.
And I think you watched something without me.
I did, and
you watched it in
full for the pod.
2 days or something.
So, few of you that listen to this is for you. I actually basically finished it in one day. There's only 6 episodes because Saturday, I understand now why you sometimes wake up so cranky and awful and annoying.
Well, thank you.
And you're so like moody and
Your
grumpy.
empathy really means a lot to me.
Daniel falls asleep at like the drop of a hat. It's so frustrating. I was extremely tired on Saturday. It's like every time I tried to watch the Queen Charlotte.
You went on your run. Then you ate the big
tater.
tater.
I ate my big tater, and it was just life was good. We were vibing at that point. Everything was nice. I was clearly very relaxed. I don't relax easily. But I tried to watch Queen Charlotte: A Bridgerton Story, because that's the Bridgerton spinoff thing about Queen Charlotte. It's the one. It's not based on a book series, which they're writing a book now, kind of about the series. So they had a little bit more creative freedom, and like the Queen's role in the actual books is very limited as opposed to the show. So I was excited to start that. It wasn't boring or anything, but I was just so tired. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch Modern Family. Fell asleep again with that. So I'm like, you know what? We're gonna table this till Sunday. So I watched all of the Queen Charlotte, all 6 episodes. Now I had some breaks in between, but I pretty much watched it all day on Sunday. And Sunday was a rainy, awful day outside, so it was like the perfect day to kind of veg with some Netflix. And it was really good. I was excited they were making it, but I was kind of like, can I just please have season 3? Because the rumor is we might not get season 3 even in December. We might have to wait till early next year. And I'm like, I really want the Penelope Collins story now. They're not going in the order of the books, but that's fine because that's my second favorite book in the series. And I'm like, can we just have that? Why are we wasting our time on this? But they did insert some, because it would go back and forth between the past and the present. So there are some details and some new
I was going to
things
ask
revealed
you.
that are going to come into play in season 3 of Bridgerton. So I'm excited to see those kind of arcs finish that they kind of sprinkled in for this.
I was going to ask you how many other than Queen Charlotte? Like, was there? Were
there
there
was
other
a
crossover
young Lady
episodes?
Danbury, who's like one of the main characters in the show, and then a young Violet. Violet is the matriarch of the Bridgerton family. She's the one that had all 8 of the Bridgerton children. So she was also in it,
Okay.
in both
So
flashbacks
there were some
and in the
connecting
present.
tissues other than just the one character.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Did
And I mean,
they-
King George is
so-
still alive in the present, so he was there too. And we knew from Bridgerton that King George, and I think they said like these are loosely based on actual events, but King George in real life like did have some history of mental illness. I learned that yesterday on Reddit. And they really kind of touch on that in the show, and it was a beautiful love story. And I knew that the Queen and like him did love each other because we had seen one scene on Bridgerton that kind of depicted that, but we kind of got to see their romance play out. I didn't realize that this show was going to I thought, I was done with the crying from Guardians, Firefly
Apparently
Lane.
not. Yeah, I came upstairs to hear you wailing.
At the end of it, they do. And I love how Bridgerton does like the classical sounding music but to modern songs, and like one of the last numbers was "I Will Always Love You." And I'm like sobbing while I'm watching it. Sorry, I just hit the microphone if you hear that. But it was so well done, and it kind of humanized the Queen's character because she's very over top in the Bridgerton series, and we've seen moments of humanity with her, but not a lot. It really humanized her. And then there was a whole side plot with like her little, I don't know what you call him, like the guy that like followed her, like her footman, like those are the people that drive
butler
you.
Guy,
Brimsley, like her little butler man, and his relationship with Reynolds, which obviously clearly back then, if you were gay in a relationship, they would like literally hang you, like you would be like you would die, I'm pretty sure. And we got to see that they had a relationship, and I'm like, oh, I need more of this. And apparently, like I thought that maybe Reynolds, that was the king's like little butlery person. I don't know if I'm using that word right. And then Brimsley, who is still alive in the future present tense of Bridgerton, and we didn't see Reynolds at the end. We're like, oh, did he pass away? And they're saying on Reddit that there was a future scene cut, and he might still be like kicking it.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I'm excited to see that. But it was really good. If you like the Bridgerton series, you will enjoy this. Once again, Daniel chooses to come upstairs during like the honeymoon scene.
The doing it scene.
Every time I watch this show, you always come up during those episodes. I promise that there is more context.
Okay, sure.
But it was good. I liked it.
So is this
Better than fine.
Is it mandatory viewing for Bridgerton fans?
Yeah,
like,
honestly.
could you go into season 3 not having seen this and be fine?
Oh, yeah. I think because some of the stuff they sprinkled in about, like, Lady Danbury's past and a former romance that's connected to Violet, and then Violet is a widower and like certain things that she might be ready to try again in the future. Like I feel like that could be they're little sprinklings that I hope they kind of put more depth into. But I think you could go into season 3 not having seen this, but I would really recommend that people watch it. I thought it was really well done. The casting of young Queen Charlotte was so good. It was so much better. Like it's not that I thought it was going to be bad. I was just kind of like, I want Bridgerton season 3 right now.
Sure.
Kind of how I felt with Boba Fett, where I was like, I want Mandalorian season 3 right now.
And look how that
And then I ended up liking the back half of Boba Fett, which was really Mandalorian 2.5 better. So you never know, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Did you watch anything without me this weekend? Oh gosh, I shouldn't have asked. I shouldn't have asked another Star Trek. Oh, I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I walked
Since
right
you
into
asked, I'm still watching season 3 of Lower Decks.
Banger theme song though.
Banger theme song.
I'm like, what
right?
are you watching?
You thought I was watching like a regular Star Trek. That's because I am. It's a regular Star Trek. It's just a cartoon.
I still think they need to Pete's Dragon the episode for us.
It's not going to happen.
The cartoon with the reality.
It's not going to happen. Okay. Well,
Did you watch anything else without me?
No, I think that's all I've.
We cannot go in this podcast without talking about another food experience we had.
I'm drawing a blank.
Lieutenant Dan, Gary Sinise, am I saying his name
gosh.
right? I think he works at our local Dominos. So
I don't know what you're like, ladies and gentlemen. I do not agree with anything she's about to say, or nor do I endorse it.
Because you were having to read our credit card number. We never eat out this much, but it's been a very busy few weeks. So we ordered Domino's one day last week. They're the only one that delivers to our house, even though there's 50 pizza places in town. And I'm like, who? This voice sounds familiar. I think that he must be preparing for a role, and he's doing some little work here at the Domino's in our town.
Gary Sinise does not have a voice that is noticeable or recognizable in the industry.
Yes, he does.
He's not like you're talking. It's not like Morgan Freeman or somebody. It's just Gary Sinise.
If you don't get it, you're not a true fan.
I suppose.
Lieutenant Dan.
So
ice cream, Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan, you got legs. I know I'm doing Forrest's voice, not Gary Sinise's voice, but.
You just proved my point.
I don't care.
You just proved my point for me.
He was working at Domino's last week. Fight me. It's whoever did it sounded exactly like it.
If you've made it this far into the podcast, thank you so much.
But you know what? It's not as cool as that guy that time when we were in college and you went to Long John Silver's and it was like, arr.
He full on pirated at us.
Sorry, that just a core memory just popped in my brain.
Okay. Again, if you've made it this far into the podcast, thank you. We really appreciate the support.
We do.
If you have an Instagram account, go find We Watch TV Podcast and give us a follow. We're going to put weird stuff like the ending of this podcast on there and other things, and who knows? We don't know. We actually don't know. We just made it up. We're flying by the seat of our pants here, folks. We're recording this Monday. I got to go down.
Or was I?
I got to go down and edit this thing together in an hour or so. So
I'm so tired.
It's just whatever. Anyways, have a good week. Talk to you later.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope on Twitter @LilRunner or on Instagram @LilRunner1485. And Daniel is on Twitter @TheRealHoboDan. Drop us a line if you like the show or have a question you'd like us to address on a future show. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.